straight from the lion's den. Your host.
You're now tuned in
You are now tuned into
to the realest show on YouTube.
Okay, we back. This brother gets real deep with this today. I'll sit back and relax. We're gonna learn something.
Finish him.
We're gonna learn something today. If you're smart, you're gonna learn with me. If not, you know what to do. If you're just coming on in, hit that like button. Salute to the replay gang. But this brother here, he's been right the whole time.
Empty themselves and be filled up with something else. But, you know, as an actor, you're an emotional prostitute.
Wow.
You know, you put on whatever you need for the John. You're turning a trick. You're turning an emotional trick.
Wow.
And it's nothing more glorious than that.
Okay. So how do you balance the separation of who you really are? Or are they similar?
No. I mean, you got to remember, we've been here since the very beginning. You know, there is no good or bad. It's just your perspective that you're sitting from as a benefit.
All right, we about to jump down the rabbit hole. If you're just coming on and hit that like button, share this video to somebody that's sleeping. Let them know they need to wake up and take their vitamins. Because half of you dudes can't wake up because you dudes didn't take your vitamins.
Beneficial for everyone around, or is it not? There's something that has to build up, and there's something that needs to tear it down. You know, what we call the tearing of it down, we call it evil or bad, but that's the process of magnetism or radiation.
All right, I guess he's getting in right now about the real significance between positive and negative. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are still stuck on that good versus bad, evil versus good concept, right? Let's get into it.
Radiation tears apart that which was concentrically brought together through electric potential and electric force. Electricity is always seeking a higher pressure condition, trying to get to the center of the apex, whereas magnetism is spinning southwestward, trying to get out. But the magnetism is necessary because unless it broke apart that which was collected together, you would never have any new material to rebuild again. And that's the breathing in and the breathing out of universal purpose. Now, so at the end of the day, since the Creator made all things and everything came from the Creator, there is nothing that is bad except how you are perceiving it and whether it's beneficial to everyone around you, because something needs to tear things apart. And if you want to be on the building side of it, then you have a sustainable relationship with the universe, because the universe loves to rebuild, but it also needs to tear apart at the same time.
Right. And I often say that, you know, we do live in a world of duality. So
Sounds like he's speaking about the yin and yang situation. But let's dive in.
it keeps equilibrium. When you mention creator and universe, can you clarify who you consider the creator to be?
Oh, well, I don't consider the Creator to be any of the names that have been.
Well, from the looks of it right then and there, sounds like to me he's not dealing with religion, so salute to him for that. Sounds like Mr. Howard is into manifestation. What do you guys think?
Personified upon it, because if you think as above so below, and everything in the universe has an equal and opposite mate, even in our chemistry every element has an equal and opposite mate, like the opposite mate of oxygen is a +2 and a -2 within that same octave is beryllium. If oxygen is bonded with any other element, the moment that it comes in contact with beryllium, it will break that other bond and immediately bond to beryllium because it's equal and opposite mate. So I was like, and the oxygen is feminine because it's part of the expansive side, whereas the beryllium is the masculine. So there's always this balance of masculine and feminine in the world that we see and in everything that we do. So I was like, how can a male god produce a male son without a feminine deity? Where does that come from? You know, and the stories of Jewish folklore, I appreciate, you know, the Israelites and their story, but they're not part of my history. So why am I subscribing to their deities? How have that been placed upon us? Why is it that black men who are not Jewish are getting circumcised?
Okay, he's getting deep, y'all. We going in.
When we are not part of that Israelite place? Why are we following their gods that they came up with? You know?
So are you saying distinctively that faith and science are different, or is faith and science?
Lauren, I see you. Graham, salute.
Science is to explain natural phenomena.
Okay.
The whole point of science was to explain natural phenomena. And
I'm glad you popped up, Graham, because this is your topic. You know what I'm talking about? You know these actors be some is woke and some ain't. So you know I definitely need your insight on this. Salute to Graham Fishburne. Make sure y'all subscribe to his channel right now. Let's get into it.
should coincide with what takes place in the observable universe. And that should strengthen one's faith. And that's why I said as above, so below. So if here everything has an equal.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I didn't think that no celebrity, you know what I'm saying, like this guy here, Mr. Terrence, I didn't think he was woke like this. I'm not even gonna cap. I would have never thought a celebrity was woke like this. So we gonna dive in this rabbit hole, y'all. I got a little bit of time, so morning coffee, morning tea, take a shot, light it up. We are diving in. Let's go all the way in. And I'm talking about it's a deep hole, deep.
An opposite mate, and is necessary in order for the proliferation of life and the continuation of the death cycle that is just sleeping, and then you refold again and you're reborn again. And I've always found it hard. I started off as a Christian. My mother
Salute, Waiter Black.
raised us as Baptists and Methodists, and
Salute, good
went
morning,
through
gang.
those walks. But then my father went to prison, and when he came out of prison, he was a Muslim. So we became Muslim
Yeah.
until I was like 13 years old. And then there's this really cool brother named Yaqub. You know, I really appreciated him. He had always had this wonderful musk scent to him, the order dashiki. And he was such a beautiful and kind person. And then one day I came home, and my father and all of his friends were sitting around talking seriously. And I was like, what happened? Well, it turned out that Yaqub, the gentleman, had cut the genitals off of someone, a wino that had urinated on the mosque.
Wow.
Wait a
And
minute.
I was like,
Wow.
That was crazy. That's what I'm saying, gang. Some of these people get into religion and they just go off on the deep end. They just become extremists. They just start feeling like they gotta kill for God. And bro, if the creator is the creator of all things, he don't need nothing from you, bro. You don't gotta go out and fight no battles for the creator. You don't even gotta do God's work. All right? God don't need no help, man. Let's get into it.
I didn't have children at that time, but I was like, how can a God of love
Right.
have one, because if my child urinated on my house, there's no way I would cut his genitals off. So why is it that somebody would do that, thinking that
Right.
they're honoring
Right.
the Creator? And I had to
Right.
start rethinking things, and then I became a Jehovah's Witness. Went through that for around 20 years, and again asked.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Because he's starting to make some sense to me. Because in the beginning of my story, I was born a Christian, but then I had turned to a Jehovah Witness, and I had to go through there, and hang out on that side of town and get those type of studies. So that's starting to ring a bell now. What Terrence is talking about. Let's continue.
Asking serious questions. If God had never caused it to rain until 6,000, 4,000 something years ago, had never caused it to rain on this earth. So what happened? It never rained during the times of the.
Hey Graham, I agree with you. I don't know what's going on with this hairstyle and these shoes he got on, but I don't want to be in touch with my feminine side. Let's go.
Dinosaurs. When precipitation is part of the entire thing, and like it said, the Bible is supposed to be the inspired word of God. Therefore,
Right.
if what you find one lie in there, then you have to call into question everything else that's been placed there. And I'm not sure that that is the history of the Creator. And I think the Creator is so much more
In its totality.
expansive than that. And one thing that we all need to recognize, perfection cannot create imperfection. It cannot make it.
All right, he's heating up now, gang. He's heating up now because this is what I be talking about. People who be using God for propaganda, people who try to bring God down to a level that you operate on. I don't subscribe to that, bro. I don't subscribe for God being anything like a human being.
Any immortality or eternal cannot create something that is non-eternal.
Okay.
And
Right. Come on, Howard.
everything inside the universe is alive. And what people don't recognize is that the entire universe is the Creator, and we are part of that. So we are the.
Right. There has to be a creator because I feel like him. I subscribe to that. We are in a creation. Yeah, that hairstyle's wild. Yo, this nigga got his shit bumped. I ain't with all of that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? But maybe that's probably why he did something like that, because he's coming with so much truth that he got to do something to throw you off. I don't know, Graham.
The Creator within it. And when we do good, then God is good. But when we
Right.
do bad, God works in mysterious ways.
I never really understood that. Why people like to do that. I feel like a lot of people like to put stuff on the Creator, and like he said, when you do good, oh, God is good. God is good. This is a good God. But as soon as you do bad, I'll smite you with a curse, and I'll turn you to a pillar of salt if you turn around and look how I'm getting busy. Shit crazy.
But once you recognize the divinity within you, then the universe behaves.
Right. He said it, gang. Divinity. I spoke about this the other day. We got to protect our divinity. We got to enhance our divinity. You have to feed your divinity. Let's go.
As if you have the authority. And that's why it's so important to keep your word and what Jesus was trying to tell.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like you said, like the authority. You have to always claim your authority. DBN, I see you. Salute, home team. Yo, it's like if you don't claim your spot, you won't have a spot. If you won't stand on something, you'll fall for anything.
Tell everybody was that you are God.
Right.
That's why it says God is.
That's a very emphatic.
Like they said, when they did a whole bunch did more research on our DNA, they said that the Creator who created us left his signature. Like how Picasso signs a picture, puts his name in the corner. Well, the creator left a signature on us in our DNA. And it says, when you translate it, God within. The God within, or God within, something like that. God within us. So we all know God is in us, bro.
Dramatic statement. And I don't know if a lot of people are able to handle the statement and the essence of what it was
Come on with it.
intended. But the reason I wanted you to clarify is because even when we've talked off screen, you've referenced, even with your book you're writing, we're going to talk about that. You mentioned scriptures like Daniel when you were showing the
Yeah,
other
Daniel
night.
7.
Daniel, yeah. So when you reference those scriptures, you're not saying that they're infallible.
No,
You're just saying that there are other things outside that we need to consider.
these are historical references within it. Like Jesus said, we were all made in God's image, right?
Right.
So when you look in the mirror, do you see God? And when God looks in the mirror, does God see you?
Right.
That's a
the
great
question. At
fucking
what
question.
point? And somebody told us we were born in sin. We were all.
And the funny thing is, that's a deep question right there upon further analyzation, because when most people look in the mirror, they don't see God. They see themselves. And that's the trick that man has done on other man, right? And that's the whole trick of turning us into an individual, giving us a name, separating us from the collective. Now there's no more we, us, and our. It's me, myself, and I.
All of that, and that the desire to mate is a sinful thing. When a man is born with in 1970, a healthy male produced 1,500 sperm per heartbeat. That is a motivating factor towards getting out there and proliferating. No. But one of the things that's interesting, we are 98.7% identical to simians or to chimpanzees or to apes.
What's that percentage again?
98.7% identical genetically. And we're only 1.3%, there's only 1.3% differentiation between us and the simians. But how do they live? They live in a harem. Because of producing 1,500 sperm per heartbeat, so that and the females recognize that that's what's, so how is it that if we're 98.7% identical to them, why are we attempting to live completely isolated and not following those same rules of nature? Why are we trying to do the 1.3%?
That's a serious question.
Yes.
That's a
And
good
as a
question. That's a
female-
good question. Good question, man.
We've
Good
had
question.
so many issues with that because it sounds like polygamy, and
Sounds like nature.
it sounds like nature, which would be
98.7%.
polygamous. So my question to that would be,
98.7
and
kiss.
this is something I've posed to other people who are of that same thought, which is, if it is in fact how we should be cohabitating, then how do we explain STDs when you're with multiple partners?
That's a good question.
How do we reconcile that happening?
It's
You understand what I'm saying?
it's within what takes, like, does the chimpanzees walk around with STDs? No, because they do not allow the females to go and cohabitate with other males. Outside of it stays within this community. Now, the difference between us, we are not in a position to carry out the natural order of things because we are not self-sufficient.
Right.
We're not working within our own environment. So we have to ascribe to a different way of life. Like me, I have my one, and I don't have a desire to be with anyone else because this is not the environment in which you can do that. But if it
I ain't gonna lie, that's something real deep about how man doesn't control his desires. Let me tell you something. That's where disciplinary acts come to pass. Because a lot of people don't have discipline. That's a fact, bro. Look how a lot of people live their life. Look at the things that they do. You know what I'm saying? People don't got discipline. That's why they be running off at their mouth. They can't control themselves. This shit crazy, bro.
It was great if I had the environment that facilitated the natural course. I would love
Lauren,
to have
thanks.
a few other individuals helping with raising a family. But at 55,
It's time. It's
my
time.
He look good for 55. Salute to that. I hope I look that motherfucking good when I hit 55. Shit, I'm 48. And I hope I ain't late.
appetite is
That's a lot of work.
it's work.
That's a lot of
I
work.
can barely keep up with my one now. And
Exactly.
and her sex drive, because she's 47 now,
Okay.
has changed.
Oh, shit.
So now she wants to play, and I'm like,
Listen.
I was like 1,500 sperm per heartbeat years ago. I don't think I'm there anymore.
That's a lot of work. That's my
Oh,
other thing.
shit.
It's like it's too much work to deal with one woman, okay? So
But I'm just
multiple is gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah, everybody that's in the building, I appreciate everybody. Hit that like button. Come on in. We streaming in high quality right now. So if you washing your dishes or something like that, you don't got to look on your phone. You can put us on your TV. We are in fucking high quality just for you guys. Let's go.
I'm just trying to exemplify the fact that
I get it.
that we are not living in
I get it.
under natural conditions, and we have a lot of problems associated.
Yo, let me say something. Because that I was thinking about this the other day, right? Okay, money's the root to all fucking evil. And we know that. We all know that. So why would God, if God is good all the time, why would God have anything to do with money? That's when a lot of shit started opening up and started seeming clear to me. Like, wait a minute, why would God want to bless me with money? If the devil created money and that's property that belonged to the devil, right? Let's stay on that concept real quick. Why would God want to give us money? Why would he bless you with a blessing? God wouldn't want to have nothing to do with money. He would want to stay far away from it. I don't want nothing to do with with my op mate. Use your head, people.
Associated with that.
So what would you say is your foundation as a man of where all of this massive information comes from? Your thought process, the way you think, what you receive, because I hear you talking about revelation a lot, but
Right.
where do you attribute that? Like, where is that coming from? Because you don't think like the average person,
Right.
obviously.
No, because I don't identify with average.
Right,
I don't
right. Talk
identify
about
with
it.
that. When I look in the mirror, I see the Creator.
Okay.
I don't see anything short of the Creator. I'm.
Mhm.
There's not one part of me that wasn't made from the Creator. So there's not.
He's getting in deep, gang. He's going in deep. Because how do you expect to make or create anything if you don't see yourself as a creator? Not the creator, but a creator, a spin-off of the original.
Not one part of me that's
Okay.
not perfect. Now, maybe my perception and understanding
Yeah.
isn't there because I've allowed myself to be influenced by other things,
Mhm.
but I see myself in the most humble way as being directly from the Creator, and I see everyone else and everything else as being directly from the Creator, even the plastic that makes this up,
Mhm.
that carbon
Mhm.
is still vibrating at the key of E, breathing in and breathing out. We look at this and call it
Like I agree with him 100% because I truly feel like everything is a part of the all. And the all is a part of everything. You know what I'm saying? You can't add to the all, you can't take from the all because the all is the all. And it just will be the all. Simple.
dead, but that Browning effect
Right.
is the life
Mhm.
principle continuing on in it. So when I recognize that this is alive, it recognize that I'm alive, and I recognize that this carries the same nature of the Creator, then it recognizes that in me, and so there's an equanimity You know, and I don't see myself above a piece of tissue or below the creator himself. So there's a balance of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
That's a
think
fact.
that's
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. We gotta stay balanced. That's what it's all about. It's not about being too positive. It's not about being too negative. Because if you don't stay prayed up and dangerous, you're done out here.
very provoking mindset to have because of your extensive experience in life that most people don't get to do, you know, with acting and everything else. What would you say has been the
Just dawned on me. Here go a good factor for us to tell that we're supposed to be connected, but we're actually disconnected on purpose. Because when somebody get in trouble or somebody lose a loved one or something like that, what do we say? What do we say, y'all? We say prayers up for that person. We say we need y'all to come together and we need y'all to help give us prayers to this person. That's what we do. We say pray for that person, pray for that family. Prayers up go out to that family. Pray. They want everybody to like connect together. I guess that's what we're supposed to do together as pray, because I don't confuse manifestations with prayers no more. You know what I'm saying? When I want to do something, like how I'm doing this live right now, I just manifested this live. You know what I'm saying? I didn't pray for this live, y'all. I manifested it. I sat back. I was on the toilet taking a shit. I made a thumbnail. I got up out of there. I came over here. I jumped in there, looked at my time. Oh, okay. Follower sent me this. Boom, boom. I manifested this stream. I didn't pray for this stream, y'all. That's the difference. Y'all niggas got to start manifesting, bro. Stop praying. Start manifesting. You know what I'm saying? Because that'd be the problem. As soon as you get in trouble, look, oh, God, God, God. Yeah, you calling on God now. God didn't get you that pussy last night. God didn't get that 3.5 for you. You did that. You manifested that. So if you understood that and started manifesting more positive things, maybe your life would change. Try it.
most rewarding out of everything you've done?
The most rewarding thing that's ever happened to me or that I've accomplished in
That you've
this
done.
time. Being able to define the entire electric field or the plasmic field.
All right, this is where it becomes high level content. You guys, if you're not ready, get out of here now. If you are ready, pay attention.
And patent it.
Yeah.
And the things that I discovered with that prove that the platonic solids, which our entire infrastructure is built off, were only averages and approximations, and that all of the postulates and axioms they've built off of are erroneous. And being able to present that, but also being given the blessing of defining the magnetic field, the feminine side, and patenting those, the expansion or the unfolding of the universe. But then being given the opportunity to define the neutral that sits between it, or the Constitution, which is the linchpin that mitigates between the micro, which is the electric world, and the macro, which is the magnetic world.
Right.
And this works as a bridge, a common factor between. So having discovered and patented the grand unified field equation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And putting it into practice and building all of these new industries that have come from it, from transcendental lighting to tangential flight to
All right, I know he's getting a little deep, and I know a lot of y'all don't understand what the fuck he talking about. But check this out. I'm gonna give you an example. So basically, we all wondered like what a blockchain is. We all wondered like how did they come up with Bitcoin and all these certain systems that the banking systems use that cannot be imperfected, right? Because it's a system they running on, right? It's they got this system from your genetic makeup. Like your genetic makeup of your blueprint of your DNA, it's designed in such a way where it cannot be manipulated. That's why when they try to clone people, they never get the exact thing. They haven't perfected it. They can't. Listen, man. Scientists cannot duplicate what it takes to be human. You heard?
Fatality.
And every time they try it, they fuck up and they come up with some other shit. I'm telling you, man, the human being is the best computer that was ever invented. Why? Because all our information now that scientists have studied is not even stored in our brain. It's stored in our neurons. It's stored in our DNA. They're saying that the DNA has more memory than a microchip.
Supersymmetrical systems. I've patented 4 supersymmetrical systems. Wow. And a supersymmetrical system is, it always aligns. That's how the universe behaves. And according to science, there are no supersymmetrical systems because the platonic solids have a thing called discrete symmetry. And for everybody out there,
I was just about
the
to say we
platonic
gotta let
solids were 5.
She ain't know what the fuck he was talking about, sis. I know he about to get. This guy's smart, y'all. I was sleeping on him for a second. I thought he was on some fuck shit, y'all, with this bumped hair and all that. Hey, Graham, let's get it.
5 polygons that that are based upon straight lines and flat planes. And
Take it
they're
easy. Take it easy on him.
Tetrahedron, the hexahedron or the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron.
Talk about
Now, for millennium, since the days of Pythagoras
it. Right.
and the days of Plato, these were the undisputed, fundamentals of God. And they said that they put
What he's talking about now is basically more like the laws of certain things. Like certain things, when they was moving around, they had laws for certain stuff. Like, let me give you another thing that I'm studying right now. I don't know too much about it, but I'm a tap on it in real fast. When it comes to tarot card readings and all that stuff like that, a lot of people used to be like, religious people, those are demonic, those are demons, stay away from them. They're working with demons. And there's a system, I forgot the name of it, but there's a system in play. In order to do astrology, astronomy, there's a system in play that they have to abide by while doing these methods. And when it comes to tarot card readings, they don't use the method that the universe had put in play. Therefore, they're doing something that is forbidden. Let's go.
pulled it out of the flower of life. Now, my biggest question, well, another thing based on what's my greatest accomplishment, would have been to question mathematical fallacy that 1 times 1 equals 1. Because how could an action times an action not have a reaction? You know, because every action has a natural reaction. So I was like, how did they come up
we
with
getting
this
into it, Liddy. I got some shit.
irrational and illogical set of things? If to multiply means to make more,
Right.
then how can 1 times 1 equaling 1 be part of a multiplication table? It fails to satisfy.
I get it now. Because not for nothing, shout out to the content creator that I forgot her name. What's her name? I can't see it anyway. But shout out to sis. Hope she get to 10,000 subs because she's at like 6.8. But yo, bro, this guy is not dumb. I didn't think of that. I seen that in they thumbnail, in they title, the 1 times 1 situation, and I'm like, what are you trying to say? And it makes so much sense because the rest of the numbers multiply, but this equation doesn't multiply. Why is that?
The term multiply. So questioning that, and in the first, second, third grade, as I came along, that courage.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Okay, it's starting to make sense to me now when you wake up and when you starting to get like knocked on your head, like, wake up, it's time to wake up. Because he said he was questioning that when he was in the 2nd grade. And I was questioning what was a noun, person, places, and things. You know what I mean? What is that? Where did it come from? Who made it? Who created a noun? Because now we can't think outside of them 3 points. Anybody right now could think outside of them 3 points, I give you $100. Let's go.
Towards curiosity and an unbridled passion towards finding the truth, which therefore the Bible or any other book has to be held You have to question it and make sure that everything that it says and
That's a fact. How many people out there get in my comment section never question their own religion? How many people out there never question the who's, the what, the whys, and the whens? Who never questioned that? Who out there just woke up and just start living life and never ever ever checked theyself before they wrecked theyself? Let's see who man enough to say that shit.
purports to be is what it is, because as a Jehovah's Witness, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, if my child would have been sick and needed blood, I wouldn't have given him blood because of Genesis 9:4 about not putting blood in your body. And then, but
What?
we were told as witnesses, you got to stay away from astrology. Stay away from astrology. And I'm like, why stay away from astrology? Why do I need?
Right.
They told the truth about Christmas, told the truth about Easter, told the truth about holidays, all of this stuff. But why stay away from astrology? Well, it turns out all religion has come from astrology, and the astrology
Didn't I just talk about this? He's gonna break it down.
was astronomy.
Mind you, I ain't see this before, y'all. I'm looking at this right now with y'all. Alright? I'm learning with y'all. This is how I sponge. So if anybody's out there sponge like me, you should be sucking it up. No,
And they were
wonder.
trying to make sense of the heavens and how time passed and these bodies. And it turns out the sun going through the 12 constellations. They anthropomorphized those 12 constellations and they became the disciples. And there's every story, every culture, from the Egyptians, you know, to the Greeks. They had the same story. The Son of God, that born from a virgin, that's betrayed by one of his disciples. He dies on the 21st, and in 3 days he rises later. Well,
They say that, but I consider myself, I call myself a believer, but I'm under the umbrella of Christian.
See, this is the problem, people. I told you. Right now, we going through the middleman. Alright? We going straight to the source. We not believers no more. You cannot run a YouTube channel believing you gonna get numbers. You gotta know you gonna get numbers, and then you gotta go out there and do what you're supposed to do to get the numbers. This is a fact, bro. This is the problem now. Everybody's believing, everybody's assuming, making an ass out themselves. You either know or you don't know. This is a knowing time. Just look at, gang, as we go and we dive through this rabbit hole, replay gang. If you in the chat, salute, hit the like button, share this video with somebody that's sleeping so they could wake up. Cause I'm gonna dissect this joint hustle man style. Let's go.
And there are a lot of erroneous doctrines that are
in Christendom.
that don't, purport.
You see, he said Christian doctrines and she didn't say nothing because she's a Christian. Y'all pay attention to how Christians give it up.
What God actually has given us to examine.
How do you burn somebody for eternity for something that they did for 30, 40?
All right, this is crazy now. This is the separation. You see that black line right there where that YouTube play button is at? Check this out, bro. He don't believe in a God, all right? He knows there's a creator, but he don't believe in a God. She believes in God, also knows there's a creator. Watch the difference.
Years without direction. It lacks justice, and it lacks the thing we call love. There's nothing my child could do that would make me burn them forever. And then we got to think about God never breaks his laws
He's
of
good all
universal
the time.
function in order to perform a miracle. That's not what happens. So I guess the person's flesh grows back and they burn the next day, grows back. That sounds like something from science fiction. All of those things that the best thing you could do for a child that's out of control, if you can't get them help, is put them to sleep so that they can't harm anybody else. But you would never continually torture somebody for something that they did for a few years. You would never do it. It lacks equanimity, and the universe is based upon balance. So when I asked all of those questions, I never got the proper answer, so I had to go in search of, because I would have put my life and my family's life on the line for that. And I miss the days when I looked forward to a savior coming in and helping us. I miss those days because it was much easier.
I agree with him 1,000%. We all have been there. We all have been stuck in religion. We all have been stuck with these concepts that they have put on us, and they have bred within our DNA for us to actually still be invoked with this bullshit.
But I recognize that we have to save ourselves. You have
Right.
to be your own hero and act. Jesus didn't sit and wait for someone else to come and help. He got out, did what was necessary in order to educate and edify the people that he cared about.
Facts.
And as a result of that work, we have all of these wonderful ideas, but now we've lost that spirit, and it's time for us to get back into the spirit of what's right.
Well, I appreciate, your thought process concerning that. And I think there is a way to reconcile the two. I wouldn't dare tell a person how they need to personally receive truth, but you taking such a strong stance in your convictions and your revelation towards science, towards questioning the word you use is audit. You're auditing all of these systems. You're auditing the system of religion, you're auditing the system of science and math and the system of education, the system
Continent as spoken by 2,000 tribes and live there is Al Kebulon.
Okay.
And it meant the birthplace of life. So, as an Al Kebulon views on it, I watched it go from 9 o'clock in the morning till.
All right, we got some stuff on him. Let's go take it over here. Let's see what's happening.
Not know who it was, but I felt confident and comfortable. And as we moved along this dark blue fluid path with like chartreuse covering the, how when you look into a pool and you see the ripples, and if you're at the bottom of the pool, you'll see the ripples overlapping. That's what it looked like. And then when we got to the end of it, he said to me, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? Now, we were really poor. My dad had just gotten out of prison, for manslaughter. I didn't have much, but I said to him, I want to know how everything works. And at that moment, he used his left hand and he opened up the door. And there was this mansion, big brown doors. And inside of it was this crystalline flowers. Big crystalline flowers, like a giant, like 5 feet across. And every time I tried to see his face, he would reach in and hand me another shape. And I was so fascinated with the shapes because they didn't look like the Platonic solids. They didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before. And he would hand me these shapes, and each shape was different and amazing. And I woke up from that dream. But after that moment, anytime something strange would happen in a dream, I had the powers of inception. Anytime I would be naked at school, I would say, I'm not naked. I must be dreaming. And immediately, I would run out of the school or run out of wherever I was, and I would find that mansion again. And I had access to all the knowledge. The proof of it is the 97 patents that I have now. The proof of it is the industries that I've innovated.
Wait a minute.
It's like waking up, having a dream that you have a dime.
All right, this intensifies now. Terrence Howard has 97 patents. We're going to have to look into those. We're going to have to look into those. I was about to write that down, but that's so deep. I never even heard of a black man who had 97 patents. Now, you got to understand, to have a patent means you came up with it first. Now, we not saying you made it first. You got relayed that information in your brain first. Let's get it.
diamond in your hand. And
Guy smart.
out of nowhere, you wake up and you're hoping you're holding it, and you try and hold it, and it's gone when you wake up. But the proof is all the stuff that I've been able to do now.
So all these thoughts are from the time you were a baby. These are not things that you've learned. These are things that you had in your mind from the time you were born.
From before that time, because I remembered that I had been someplace else before. Now, what's interesting,
Let me address what Liddy said right now. Check it out. I studied this. I don't even need Terrence Howard for this one. This is the easy one for me. I studied this 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That music was on its way to become from natural, like original guitar, piano, those natural sounds, you know what I mean? That's traveling on a C note, right? Vibrating on a certain frequency. They warned us that the synthesized century was coming to pass. It was coming where everything was going to be synthesized, like speakers. You know what I'm saying? Like everything we listening to with speakers. You know what I'm saying? The sound was going to be sped up to a more faster megahertz, to a more A note, from a C note to a A note. You know what I'm saying? And which is going to make the music highly possessive, which is going to make the music resonate directly with our souls. That's why it's like certain music make people go do good things, certain music make people go do bad things. Period. It was put on a frequency where it was able to control us. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure Terrence Howard knows about this joint too, because a lot of us people that's woke, we knew about this. We know about this. You know what I'm saying? That's why we try to guard our ears. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because the number one killer, the number one participant of this new speed up of the frequency is rap music. You don't hear all those different 808s in the drill music. All that synthesized sound. And we love it. It sounds dope to us. We think we just listening to music. But the way that this whole shit worked and the way that it manifested and came right into the hearts, to the minds, and directly impact the souls of the people makes this one of the deadliest weaponizing tools of the century.
that voice that I heard, that's my voice now. So it was like my greater self was leading me through and periodically would show up again in other dreams. And I went off and became an actor because my mother wanted my little brother to be an actor, and I thought if I became an actor, I would get my mother's affection. It wasn't until my mother was dying and I'm talking to her, and
Okay, this is another thing that resonates with me. And since we on my platform, I'm gonna stop it and interject whenever I feel like it, right? So check this out. I lost my mother. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Ma. And I'm starting to resonate with Terrence on the level of what it takes for you to wake up. I'm telling y'all, man, a boss got to take a loss, man. Check him out.
she told me the reason that she was babying Antonio was because he had asthma, and my father always had questioned whether it was his son or not because he looked so much like her family and didn't look so much like him. And I realized, my God, if I had followed my proper course, I could have saved my mother, because the knowledge that I had, I had the grand unified field equation. I had already put that together, and at 7, 8, I was working with these things, and then I went through all of the hell that I had to go through.
Yup. If you went through hell, y'all smash that like button. If you know what hell feels like, if you went through it, smash that like button. And like Graham said, man, if you know you a winner, man, smash that like button.
Being accused of domestic violence, all of those things, and I thought it was a curse at the time, but it was.
That's exactly how I felt. Hey, Terrence, that's exactly how I felt. When I was going through the domestic violence and all that, it was my fucking birthday and my baby moms put some fucking charges on me and I ain't even put my hands on her, bro. Wound up having mad money. I had like 8,000 in my pocket. I had to pass it off to somebody that I really didn't fuck with like that to hold my money. And when I got out of jail, they only had $7,000 for me. All cause this motherfucking fool wanna motherfucking tell police I put my hands on it cause I wanna go hang out with Cameron and them at the Palladium. Anybody ever remember the Palladium? Yeah, we had a show that night, Dipset. So I wanted to go there and bring my birthday in on stage. Baby mother was hating on the kid.
It was really removing me from advancing down the wrong path. And during that period of time, I started waking up in my dreams again. And I started going back into that palace. And I remembered all of these things and I started patenting them. As I moved along, I got in touch with Michael Hudak. He was the president of the University of Science and Philosophy because I was studying a guy named John Keeley, you know, who had worked with frequency back in the 1870s, had built the first what do they call it? Self-sustaining engine. Back in 1872, but he wouldn't tell people how he built it. And I was watching a program with Del Pons, and somebody in the audience said, doesn't John Keeley's work remind you a lot of Walter Russell? And a bell went on. And so I got in touch with the University of Science and Philosophy after watching some stuff about Walter Russell. And Michael Hudak, you know, took me under his wing and started talking to me, but he was more into the philosophy and the love that Walter was talking about. But my intention was to rebuild the periodic table, you know, build a new periodic table, because the stuff I had learned in...
Yo, did you hear what he just said? The periodic table of elements was something that was put here by the creator. And he's talking about redoing it, adding more elements to the motherfucker. Yo, bro, this guy is gonna go deep, y'all. We ain't gonna be able to go this deep in this one video, B. We gonna have to come back to this and we gonna definitely look into them 97 patents, bro. Let's go.
In college, you know, I went to school for chemical engineering the first year over at Pratt.
What?
And they, at the time, I think it was like...
Yo, this is why... Wait a minute. This guy's a fucking genius.
Like 108 elements, and I told the teacher, the professor, about the relationship between hydrogen on the spectrometer and carbon and silicon and cobalt, and I was like, it's the same exact color, same tone, just doubled in each octave. And he was like, no, each element is the same element and it will always be that element.
Get him.
And I was like, you don't see the relationship. So I left school, and I was going to spend 40 years rebuilding the periodic table, and I found out that Walter Russell had already did that. And he did it based upon the natural curvature of everything.
And when you say rebuild the periodic table, what do you mean specifically?
Well, the way the periodic table is laid out, the periodic table they have now,
Let's see.
it looks like a
Pull up
box.
an image of it.
It looks like a straight box.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't show the relationship that between every element, there's two
All right, here's the periodic table.
You'll see hydrogen sitting all the way over there by itself, but they don't show that hydrogen has the same tone as carbon.
What do you mean by tone?
Same tone, same key of E. Same key of E. 40.5 hertz. The next one would be like 81 hertz. You go to silicon, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to cobalt and it'll be 324 hertz. It's, you know, in that base, if you were to take the angles of incidence or the tones that they create, you know, their color, like you can turn color back into sound based upon, it's the same wavelength, it's just twice as long or much longer. So all you have to do is keep dividing light by 2.
Keep that up, Jimmy.
You keep dividing light by 2, and you'll ultimately get back to the audible sound of it, because there was a relationship between light and color, sound and tone, matter and shape. I put, I sent over Walter Russell's.
I was trying to get to that. That's what.
Yeah, it's Walter Russell's periodic table that he put together. Now you compare that to what Mendeleev's periodic table. You'll compare Walter Russell's to it, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
It's unwinding. And you see there's a relationship that hydrogen.
So you had figured this out at a young age?
I had already seen this. This was all inside of that palace. I had access to it, and I knew the
So you
relationship.
saw this in dreams.
I saw it as a circle. Everything was a full circle laid out, and each area was just expanding, like wrapping a rag around your hand. The first wrap, it's so tight. The very first wrap is so tight. That's the first one that Walter Russell did, yeah. But go back to the wiggly one. This is how I saw it more so, but as a vortex. But you'll see there's a relationship between hydrogen, carbon, silicon, cobalt, rhodium. They're all bonded. They're all sit as the middle point between two noble gases. So those things don't really exist. It's only one substance. Now the problem is, the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element, because before it is too dense for us to perceive it. You understand what I'm
he's
saying?
talking about the 3D, gang.
But as you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone, because the carbon has two tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side. The part where lithium behaves, lithium is contractive. Beryllium is contractive. Boron is contractive. But the moment you get to carbon, you balance it out. It gets to a perfect balance, a plus and minus 4. So it's a double tone. Then nitrogen is minus 3,1, minus 3. Oxygen is minus 2. Fluorine is minus 1. Now the balance of this, all of those are mates. Fluorine and lithium naturally mate. If you have lithium bonded with any other element, the moment that fluorine is introduced, it will break all bonds violently so it can bond with fluorine. Same thing with beryllium and oxygen. That's why it said, and what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium. And oxygen will violently break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium. And now you can have it with the frequency of it. And since the hydrogen is smaller,
This sound like
hydrogen
how you making UFOs
will, that
fly.
waveform, you can send that up into one tube, the oxygen into another tube, without using electrolysis, without using heat. It was just through frequency, and the proof of it, if you go back up just a little bit higher, we know the relationship between sodium and chlorine. They're equal and opposite mates. If you get out of the pool and you got chlorine and you're itching from the chlorine, all you have to do is get some real salt and rub that on your skin, and it'll turn right into an oil. It naturally neutralizes each other. So everything has an equal and opposite mate. The lithium becomes sodium in the next octave, doubles the same exact tone, just doubled and wider. The sodium becomes potassium in the next octave, widens up. The reason that arsenic kills us is because our DNA has nitrogen and it has phosphorus in it, because nitrogen unwinds into the next octave right after silicon and becomes phosphorus. Our DNA has both of those in there, but it's going by tone. So the moment arsenic, which sits as a minus 3 on the next octave, the moment arsenic is introduced, the body thinks that, oh, this is my thing that I need. And it tries to wrap itself around the arsenic, but it causes the DNA to unravel because it's 4 times as large as that nitrogen was. And those other little elements, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, magnesia, and iron, all of those aren't true elements, those are isotopes. Those things, those first 3 are the full tones. They make full spheres. But now it becomes elliptical with titanium, vanadium, and chromium. And on the other side, it's like when, like I said, if you wrap the rag around your hand, the first wrap, really tight. You can't get much out of it. Second wrap, you damn near can't see the difference of it. Third one, you start seeing hydrogen.
killer, salute.
The fourth wrap, you see carbon. I need a piece of paper or a rag and I can show you that twist.
I
But
get
in
it.
between each one of them, by the time you get, nature does not allow us in the silicone octave for there to expand out. But there is the same titanium, vanadium, chromium, magnesia, and iron that exists between aluminum and silicone. But nature doesn't allow us to unravel that. But now with the wave conjugations, we can. We couldn't do that before because we didn't know the angles of incidence that were necessary to open these things up. And you couldn't do that with the platonic solids because the platonic solids were averages and approximations. They, like I've said a number of times, you show me a real straight line in nature. If everything in the universe, everything is expressed in motion, all motion expressed in waves, all waves were curved. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the greater the action, the greater the reaction. The greater the reaction, the greater the resistance. The greater the resistance, the greater the curvature. Because the universe is based off of equanimity, which Einstein left out in his theory of relativity, the balancing side of the gravity was caused by electric force. Electricity is always seeking a higher pressure condition. It spins northeast, is trying to get to the center of an area, the center of a cone. But the next electric wave is coming, so it gets pushed out, and as it's pushed out, it gets to the vortices. And that's some on those pieces, those vortices. Now, instead of it spinning northeasternly, centripetally, it's forced to spin centrifugally, and it spins southwesternly. And it expands itself out, it decays, it keeps decaying until you get 4 magnetic waves that hit each other at 120-degree angles. At that point, they reconvert back into the electric field, and then they make their way back to their source again, whether it's the star, whatever star it came into. What happens when we get older? We expand at our equator, right? We get shorter at the top. Why? Because the electric force is pushing in and condensing, and the magnetism expands out at the equator. The electron field, the electrons, that's just discharged electricity, devitalized electricity, coming from the sun, coming from the earth. It's the waste product from it. But it hits our magnetic field, and then it gets pulled right back in and gets compressed again, and now it becomes electricity for the earth, and then it pushes itself right back out again at the equator. The equator is 5 miles wider than the poles. Electricity, Einstein left that out of his equation because he coupled electricity and magnetism together and didn't realize that electricity was the equal and opposite of magnetism. Electricity being the contractive field. You breathe in, that's a contractive thing. You breathe out, that's a magnetic thing, a radiative thing. But they
Shot,
use the
salute.
term magnet as an
Good morning.
attractor.
Good afternoon.
But to magnify something means to what? Make it larger.
Intensify. Big.
Increase the space. That's the work of radiation. That's what Walter Russell was talking about all those years. That's the work of radiation. It's the electricity between the things that pull them together. The Coulomb force that supposedly opposites attract and push each other away. If that was true, then hot air and cold air would seek each other out. They're the same substance, but just under a but in a different state. One is they move in opposite directions from each other. Hot water and cold water move in opposite directions from each other. The reason two magnets seem like the North Pole is attracted to the South Pole, because if you had two rivers or two hoses with water coming out of them, and you pointed them at each other, what are they going to do? They're going to be pushing against each other. But they align to where the male enters the female and is able to come out. So they've been fooled by their senses. They've been fooled by their eyes and have missed the whole picture of it. Are you familiar with Khalil Gibran?
Yes.
He wrote a book, he wrote The Prophet, in 1923, but he wrote another book called Sand and Foam. In that book, he told a story of a man who had been away from his family for 4 months working, and he was excited to come home, and as he was coming home, he knew that the mountain, when he saw the mountain, that he was close to home. So his five senses started having a conversation, and his eyes says, I see a mountain, I see a mountain, I see a mountain.
Hey, Shots, we going through a rabbit hole, this guy here. I didn't even know this guy had 97 patents. This guy is very smart. He went to school, he went to college, he studied. I have a different understanding about Terrence Howard right now. Let's go.
Mountain. And so the ears perked out and said, I don't hear a mountain. The nose sniffed and said, I don't smell a mountain. The tongue tasted the air. I don't taste a mountain. And the other four senses started speaking among themselves, and they came to the conclusion that there must be something the matter with the eye, because they couldn't perceive it. But all of these things, we've been misled just because we've been fooled by our senses. Our eyes see 0.05% of the entire electromagnetic wave. We're blind cosmically, but we judge everything by what we see.
He said we are blind cosmically, meaning we can't even perceive the cosmos. Wow. Okay, come on with it.
And they've done that with science for so many years. You look at E = mc squared. That talks about expansion. It does not show how it's divided. If ever you've never breathed in twice without breathing out. You breathe in and you breathe out. You charge and you discharge.
Right.
There's no. So how is it that the breathing in, they're acting as if the universe is just expanding out, breathing out, and it's going to dissipate out, and they never include the contractive side of it, breathing in. Because they were misled by Newton, who said everything moves in a straight line unless affected by something else.
Wow.
And we know that not to be true. But they built the entire two-dimensional plane, the Euclidean space that we live on, that we work on, that we try and define curved nature by two-dimensional space, and we never include the curvature, the breathing in. Like Alan Watts said, no one would be attracted to a Euclidean woman because she would just be straight. All straight lines. It's the wiggliness, it's the curvature that brings the balance. Everything has to have the balance. The electric side and the magnetic side. Right. I can talk about it, but I can show you even better. If you can.
Can I stop you there? The concept of the periodic table, the way the periodic table conventionally is addressed.
Come on, Joe Rogan. He was about to get into that shit, man. What the fuck, man? He was done with that part. He was going on.